I hope everyone is having a good Saturday afternoon. This is the tropical weather update for August 6th here at 28storms.com. And in case you haven't been caught up with the tropics today, the Hurricane Center has found enough evidence to make this Tropical Depression 5, and of course I'm talking about the remnants of Tropical Storm Emily now located over Grand Bahama Island. The reconnaissance plane has been flying down there all this afternoon looking for enough sustained data to make this a tropical depression once again, and sure enough they did find maximum sustained winds of 30 miles per hour and enough of a westerly wind near Grand Bahama Island to once again make this a depression. Right now the center is moving off toward the north at 8 miles per hour, and it should make more of a curve toward the northeast as the trough begins to exit the east coast. And this could bring some additional shower activity to Bermuda on Monday, but definitely nothing significant and nothing to be overly concerned about. The latest model consensus also shows this fairly well, with pretty much all of the tracks heading off toward your general direction. Of course, this is no threat to the U.S. East Coast. Although we can make out the low-level circulation using Miami radar, we see that the center is right up around this region, and of course all of the main convective activity is remaining well to the east of the Florida Peninsula. You do have some daily shower activity here over Broward and Miami counties, along with some counties here along the west coast of Florida. Nothing too out of the ordinary here either, and of course all of this action just to the east of you will be persisting offshore and then eventually heading further out to sea toward the northeast. Turning to the most recent satellite imagery, Tropical Depression 5 does look fairly poor in overall structure. We see what is more than likely an outflow boundary being shot off toward the northeast, which is an indication that the low-level convergence is not very strong. The low-level circulation is also located primarily to the north of all the strongest convection, right around here, once again near Grand Bahama Island. And it also looks like the mid-level circulation could be a bit decoupled and centered more toward the south, closer to the convection. And even the convection is really not all that strong. In fact, it's beginning to weaken once again here. So this is a rather pathetic-looking tropical depression. But the reconnaissance plane did find enough supporting evidence to make this a depression, and some of the strongest winds were located well south of the center here. Amongst some of this shower and thunderstorm activity, they were seeing winds in excess of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. And if we look at the latest water vapor imagery, it certainly isn't the best type of upper level pattern that you're looking for when it comes to tropical development. We still see some southerly shear on the western side, and we have a lot of northerly winds coming in here over the western Atlantic. As we can see, Tropical Depression 5 is already along the western periphery of the subtropical Atlantic ridge, so that will ensure that it begins to move more toward the north and eventually toward the northeast. And the reason why it's going to start turning more toward the right is because there is a weak shortwave trough here over the Appalachians, and this is going to continue digging toward the southeast, which will weaken the ridge further, and then this will be allowed to turn more easterly. So there is a chance that this goes ahead and strengthens ever so slightly into a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm, and therefore it would reattain the name of Emily. But once again, this is really a non-event, and even if this does head off in the general direction of Bermuda, I really don't think you should cancel any of your plans. This is only going to be a one-day event, and much of the convection should be able to miss you, and even if it doesn't, it won't last that long and it won't be overly strong. Elsewhere, we see that much of the Gulf and Caribbean are quiet. We still have a tropical wave now beginning to pass through the Lesser Antilles, but if we look at the latest water vapor imagery, we see that conditions are highly unfavorable. We have this trough stretched out across the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, so there's a lot of southwest wind shear over the eastern Caribbean, and no development is expected. Further east, there's really not much happening off the coast of Africa, although as I alluded to yesterday, this will be an area to watch. And each and every wave that does come off the coast of Africa will have to be given a little bit more focus now as we head closer to the middle of August. And some of the models are not directly showing any wave in particular developing, but they do indicate that the upper level environment is conducive for some development out here, especially within the next 10 days. We're now looking at the 12Z Canadian, and it's not showing any particular system developing, but it does show at least two very strong tropical waves worth watching here. By day 6, we see one approaching 50 degrees west longitude, and there's also another vorticity max here just to the south of the Cape Verde Islands. So really nothing out of the ordinary for this time of the year. The 12Z GFS is quite similar. In fact, it's a little bit more robust with the first wave that's currently exiting the coastline, and toward the end of the period it's out here in the central Atlantic. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. And much like the Canadian, it's showing two waves. Again, this is the first one, and then we have the second one here just to the west-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. The 12Z European run did not come in as aggressive as it did yesterday, but it doesn't really mean that we can't get development over the next 10-day period. And first off, here is Tropical Depression 5. By day 1, it's moving further toward the north. 2 and 3, as you can see, it's already well into the Central Atlantic by the day 3 time frame here based on this model. And it does have a fairly healthy tropical wave just to the southwest of the Cape Verde Islands by 72 hours. But then by day 4 and day 5, you begin to see that that wave does weaken quite a bit. And by day 6, it's over here in the Central Atlantic, not showing much signs of tropical cyclone formation. And by day 7, it's still rather tranquil across much of the basin here, at least based on this one particular run of the European. But again, there are still a lot of indications that we could see a ramp up in activity out in the central and eastern Atlantic within the next 10 days. And either way, it more than likely won't be long here because we are getting closer to the climatological peak of hurricane season. So as a whole, we're looking fairly good here across much of the tropics this weekend. So there's really not that much to worry about. Interest in Bermuda should still keep a close watch on this system, although once again I'm really not expecting a whole lot from this feature as it heads off in your direction. And the central and eastern Atlantic will be the next location to keep a close watch on, but it doesn't look like development will occur until we get into the medium range at the earliest, and then even if that were to happen, it would still take several more days for any system to reach the Caribbean. So have a good one, and we'll see you right back here again tomorrow afternoon.